On base, he was invisible, just a mop and a rag, until the metal glinted under his shirt. The low rumble of jet engines idling, radios crackling as ground crews traded clipped call signs and coordinates. Boots clattered across the hangar floor, recruits rushing to duty, their laughter bouncing sharp against the steel walls. Among them moved Samuel Porter, mid-50s, wiry frame bent slightly over a mop handle. His motions were quiet, almost ceremonial, but precise. He never slopped water, never let the bucket roll unchecked. The young airmen barely noticed him, except when they wanted a joke. To them, he was Mop Man, or worse, a shadow to laugh at in passing. Sam never reacted. His face stayed calm, almost detached, eyes lingering on the shine of the floor as if it mattered more than the voices around him. Yet Rachel Davis noticed. Fresh from training, her uniform crisp, she had the energy of someone new to command and the curiosity that came with it. She caught herself watching the way Sam stood when he straightened his back, feet shoulder-width apart, posture sharp as though awaiting inspection. Not a janitor's stance, a soldier's. One morning, as the base shifted into rhythm, she spotted him pushing a broom near the flight line. The fuel smell was heavy, engines whining low in the background. He paused to roll his shoulders, then tugged off his faded work shirt, intending to slip into a fresh one he'd left folded over a chair. For a moment, sunlight hit the chain at his neck. Hanging there, gleaming against his chest, was a medal most airmen had only ever seen in framed photographs. A silver, star-like commendation, unmistakable in its shape and sheen. Rachel froze. Her voice caught before she steadied it. "Where did you get that?" Sam's hand went instantly to his chest, slipping the shirt over his shoulders in a practiced motion. "Just an old trinket," he muttered, eyes down, already reaching for the mop again. But Rachel's training told her otherwise. You didn't find such medals in pawn shops, and you didn't wear them beneath a shirt unless they meant something too heavy to display. She stepped closer, her tone sharper. "That's not something you buy. Who are you, really?" His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The silence between them thickened, broken only by the distant squawk of a radio. Ghost 2, cleared for taxi. Sam busied himself with the mop, deliberate, methodical. The act of dismissal only deepened her suspicion. By midday, word had traveled. Recruits whispered about the janitor with the medal, some laughing at the thought, others uneasy. When Rachel approached Colonel Marcus Rourke, the base commander, his reaction was a low growl. A janitor with a Valor Medal? Sounds like barracks gossip. But she stood her ground, explaining what she had seen. Rourke's skepticism hardened. "You're telling me a man cleaning hangars is hiding one of the highest awards for combat bravery? Impossible." Yet irritation pushed him to act. He summoned Sam to his office, a stark room overlooking the tarmac, walls humming faintly from the engines outside. Sam entered quietly, hat in hand. His faded coveralls bore patches from years of scrubbing. Rourke leaned forward, voice clipped. "Show me what's under your shirt." For a moment, Sam didn't move. Then he unbuttoned slowly, revealing the medal resting against his chest. Its metal dulled by time, yet unmistakable in form. The colonel's eyes narrowed. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" Sam asked softly. "It matters to me. It matters to this base. You don't walk around wearing this without an explanation." Sam held his gaze but offered none. His silence was not defiance, it was weariness. Years weighed on his shoulders and words seemed too costly to spend. Finally, Rourke snapped to his adjutant. "Run a background check. Every file, every archive. If he's who he says he isn't, I want to know." The tension lingered even after Sam left the office. Shoulders squared, but eyes fixed on the ground. Outside, Rachel watched him walk past, his figure small against the vast hangar. Mockery had faded among the recruits. In its place was an unease, a dawning sense that the man they had overlooked carried something far heavier than a mop bucket. That night, as the base quieted and floodlights swept the runways, Sam sat alone on the edge of the barracks steps. He fingered the metal beneath his shirt, tracing its edges with a calloused thumb. The laughter of earlier days was gone, replaced by murmurs and sidelong glances. Recognition threatened to strip away the anonymity he had chosen. Yet in his silence lay a burden that could no longer remain hidden. What the colonel's background checks would reveal was only the surface. The truth lived elsewhere, in memories buried, in missions erased, and in the shadows of men who were supposed to be dead. And Rachel Davis was about to discover just how deep that silence ran. The metal was only the beginning. The truth lived in the silence of classified files. Rachel Davis sat hunched over the dim glow of the records terminal, scrolling through the fragments of Sam Porter's past. The system spat out line after line of text, but every paragraph was broken, every sentence black-barred and hollow. Name, redacted. Operation, redacted. Dates, missing. She frowned, leaning closer. Someone had erased him deliberately. She had seen enough service records to know what didn't add up. Background checks for janitorial staff were routine, shallow. But Sam's file wasn't shallow. It was buried, layered in seals of clearance far beyond her rank. And yet, what bled through the redactions was unmistakable. Mentions of a convoy, a sniper, evac time logged at 0430 hours. It was a ghost story in official ink. Rachel carried the fragments to Colonel Rourke's office. He sat stiff behind his desk, arms folded, impatience in his voice. "You're chasing shadows, Lieutenant. Classified records get redacted. It doesn't mean our janitor's a secret hero." She laid the printout flat in front of him. "Convoy under fire. Casualties prevented. It lists Eagle 2 requesting air support. This isn't rumor." He was there. Rourke's eyes narrowed, but the set of his jaw betrayed irritation, not belief. "You're seeing what you want to see. Porter's a cleaner. End of story." Yet when Rachel left his office, doubt lingered in her mind. She needed more than ink on a page. She needed memory. That night, Sam sat outside the hangar, wiping down tools with the same care he gave the floor tiles. Rachel approached, her boots crunching softly on the gravel. She watched the way his hands moved. Economical, steady, but scarred. Finally, she spoke. "I saw your records. What's left of them?" His head turned slightly, eyes shadowed. "Records don't tell the truth. They tell what someone wants written." Her breath caught. It wasn't a denial. "Then tell me yourself. What really happened?" He didn't answer in words at first. His gaze drifted past her, out to the runway lights flickering against the night sky. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Convoy, Northern Ridge. We thought it would be routine. It wasn't." The words pulled him back. The hangar dissolved into sand and heat. Desert wind carried grit across his face. The convoy stretched long and exposed across the basin. Radios spat frantic calls. Eagle 2, convoy under fire, grid 042 Delta, taking heavy contact. The first crack of a rifle snapped across 600 meters of open space. A driver slumped in his seat, blood misting the windshield. Sam dove into cover, M4 carbine clutched tight. The sniper was patient, deliberate. Every shot found its mark. "Spectre," someone whispered over the net. The name alone chilled the air. Pinned down, Sam forced calm into his men. "We move on my call. Keep spread, suppressed fire, 3-round bursts. Make him shift." Bullets stitched dirt inches from their helmets, the desert wind funneling each report into a hollow echo. Sam calculated angles, ranges, the distance from ridge to convoy. 600 meters exactly, the kind of shot only the best could manage. Another call broke in, strained. "We can't hold. Air support delayed. ETA 20 minutes. They didn't have 20 minutes. Sam ordered the lead vehicle forward, himself sprinting low across the open stretch, drawing the fire away from the pinned rear trucks. His heart hammered, but his motions were crisp, trained. Each step felt like an invitation to death. He returned fire in controlled bursts, forcing the sniper to adjust. Dust clouds bloomed where rounds struck. His men followed his lead, firing disciplined, not frantic. Through the chaos, he spotted movement on the ridge, a flicker of shadow against rock. Spectre, patient, waiting, the rifle steady on its rest. Sam dropped prone, squeezed his M4 tight, and laid down suppressive fire long enough for the convoy to reform. Lives bought in seconds. Evac came at 0430, helicopters whipping the desert air into storms. By then, half his team was alive who shouldn't have been, and the convoy had broken free of the kill zone. They had survived because Sam refused to fold under the weight of the crosshairs. The memory faded, leaving only silence. Sam's eyes returned to the hangar, but Rachel could still see the battle burning in his expression. Before she could speak again, the sound of hurried boots cut across the tarmac. A figure emerged from the night, stocky, scarred, limping slightly on his left leg. His eyes found Sam, and for a moment they froze in disbelief. "Sam?" the man breathed, voice breaking. "God, it's really you." Rachel stared. "You know him." The newcomer swallowed hard, tears rimmed but unshed. "Know him? He dragged me out of a kill zone, saved my life, but the reports—" His voice cracked. "The reports said he was dead." Sam said nothing. The silence hung heavier than any answer. His past had just walked back onto the base, living proof of a history everyone else thought buried. And with Hawk's arrival, the questions of why Sam Porter's name had been erased were no longer whispers. They were demands waiting to be answered. In the end, it wasn't the medal that mattered. It was the lives it represented. The morning sun stretched across the base tarmac, the heat already shimmering in waves off steel and concrete. Sam walked with the same measured pace as always, mop handle over one shoulder like a rifle he'd laid down long ago. But now eyes followed him, not with mockery or disdain, but with silence. Respect. The whispers had spread overnight. His name, his past, his hidden war. Rachel stood near the hangar doors, arms crossed, watching him. She had been the first to see it. The flash of silver under his shirt, the symbol of battles fought in deserts no one spoke of anymore. Hawk stood beside her, leaning heavily on a cane, his face lined with scars that told their own story. "He saved more lives than any medal could count," Hawk murmured. His voice carried the weight of memory, heavy and unshakable. But the truth wasn't in files or reports. It lived in the desert, years before, where dust storms swallowed sound and time. The flashback came unbidden, as if summoned by the weight of stairs around him. Sam saw it again. The convoy stretched thin across the barren road, armored trucks crawling under a pale orange sky. Engines groaned, tires carved deep lines in the sand. Over the radio, Eagle 2, convoy under fire, grid 042 Delta. Repeat, 042 Delta. A single shot cracked, distant yet sharp. A man in the lead Humvee fell without a sound, blood pooling into the dust. Spectre was out there. The phantom they whispered about, a sniper who owned the dunes. 600 meters away, maybe more. Invisible, patient, deadly. Sam was Eagle 7 then. He dropped to one knee, M4 tight against his shoulder, scanning ridges through a scope. Nothing but wind. He felt it on his cheek. North to south, steady, harsh. The kind of wind that could drag a bullet off by inches. Life or death hung on those inches. Another shot. Glass shattered in the rear vehicle. Men screamed, ducked low. Sam keyed the mic. Hold formation. Keep moving. Air support, ETA 0430. We hold until then. Spectre was cutting them apart one by one, but Sam refused to let panic rule. He crawled to the ridgeline, eyes narrowing, ears tuned to the silence between shots. The desert spoke if you knew how to listen. A faint shift in the sand. a gleam off glass no bigger than a coin. There, he steadied his breathing, crosshairs aligned with the phantom shimmer of a scope. Distance, 1,200 meters. Wind correction, 4 clicks left. Time of flight, 1.2 seconds. He whispered to himself, as he always did before the shot. Not for glory, for them, for the men counting on him. Trigger squeezed. The shot cracked, suppressed but final. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a figure toppled from the ridge, rifle clattering against stone. The desert fell silent. Convoy, safe. When the dust cleared, they pulled Spector's rifle from the sand. Sam remembered holding it for a moment, heavier than expected, a weapon meant to end lives. He dropped it, turned away, and never spoke of it again. The medal came weeks later, a quiet ceremony. No cameras, just a citation read aloud. For gallantry above and beyond the call of duty, for actions under fire that saved the lives of over 30 service members. Sam kept his eyes on the ground, metal pressed into his hand like a weight he hadn't earned. He refused the spotlight, asked for transfer, and vanished into obscurity. Now, years later, the base had pieced the story together. Colonel Rourke, once skeptical, stood stiff-backed in front of the assembled recruits. He didn't like being wrong, but even he could not deny the truth. He cleared his throat, voice carrying across the formation. Sergeant Samuel Hayes, for your service, this base acknowledges you with the respect you've long deserved. Sam shifted, uncomfortable. He hadn't wanted this. Applause rippled, but he only gave a small nod. He touched the medal under his shirt, hidden still, pressed close to his chest. Rachel's eyes met his. Gratitude shone in hers, unspoken but undeniable. Hawk raised his hand in salute, slow but steady. Around them, silence deepened. Not the silence of ignorance, but of reverence. Sam turned away, footsteps carrying him across the tarmac. He walked alone, as he always had, mop handle once more at his side. The metal glinted briefly in the light before he tucked it back beneath the fabric, close to his heart, unseen but never forgotten. Because in the end, it wasn't the medal that mattered. It was the men who lived, the convoy that rolled on, the lives that went home. And as he disappeared into the hangar's shadow, the legend that had been buried finally rose to the surface, not with parades or speeches, but with quiet dignity that would never fade. His story was no longer hidden under his shirt. It now lived in the hearts of those who had seen the truth.